recording this video to explain how to set up your Hardhat environment along with how to set up your ether.js things to help you make a decentralized app. So in the starter code that Metacrafters team has given us, you can see there's a contract folder inside which we have all of our contracts. You can see there's a pages folder inside of which you can see there's a index.js which has all of our front end code. And apart from that there's a scripts folder as well which has a deploy script which is used to deploy our contract on our fake blockchain that Hardhat helps us create. But there are basically two problems with this. First is that Hardhat has moved on from using scripts like these to deploy to a proprietary technology that they use, which is Hardhat ignition. If you see here, let me move my face also. If you see here, if I check tools and there is a Hardhat ignition thing, and what is it? It is a system for deploying smart contracts on Ethereum. Basically, you can deploy your smart contract using Hardhat ignition, and that's what I did particularly. So first of all, go to this site, that is hardhat.org/tutorial, or you can just reach here and click on this tutorial button. And what you'll see, go to the thing, second point, and which is setting up the environment. And first of all, you need to install Node.js on all those things. You can do that. You can go through it and read all the requirements. Let's start with creating a new Hardhat project. Make a directory, whatever you want. I have already made it a directory named testing, and inside of that, I would do all these steps. Do npm init. Before that, do npm init in this directory. Let me move my face as well. Npm init -y. It will initialize a empty package.json. Following that, run this command, which is npm install -save dev hardhat. It basically adds hardhat to the dev dependencies. Let it install, and let me just copy the following command, which is npx hardhat init. Let it process. I'll pause the video till it gets downloaded. Okay, so now it has been downloaded. So run the next command, which is npx hardhat init. It will basically open this view for you, which is you will see something like this, and it will ask you what you want to do. So click on enter with the create JavaScript project. Create on enter on that, and let it take the default root folder. Press enter, press enter, press enter, and it will start installing some stuff. And I will pause the video till that. So that was installed successfully, and if you see in your file explorer now, you have a contracts folder which has a sample contract log.sol. In the ignition folder, we'll talk about this soon. You can see there is no pages folder as well as there is no scripts folder as well. Now that the reason for the pages folder is that we have to add it manually. We have to create a Next.js project ourselves. Hardhat does not do that by default. And for the reason for the scripts folder not being present because is that ignition is the new way to deploy your smart contracts to your local network and all those things as defined by Hardhat itself. So what this log.js has is basically it is a way to deploy your contract on the fake blockchain that will create in some time. Basically, as you can see in the log.sol, it has a constructor, and this constructor demands a unlock time as a parameter. So that is the exact thing that we are going to give it uh, in this line. We are giving m.contract, the contract name first of all, which is lock, and in these big brackets, we are going to fill all the parameters that are required for it. So it required unlock time, which we are getting from here, and it is getting that here. And the value basically says how much ether do you want to pay to that particular smart contract, or how much ether do you want that smart contract to have from the very start. You can just copy this particular code and copy your smart contract code on ChatGPT and ask it to generate a file for you, because I also myself don't understand this code completely, but I also use ChatGPT to generate this file for my particular smart contract. Now, after you have done that, you need to install a few more dependencies, which are npm install next react and react dom. I'll click install and I'll pause the video again until it gets installed. It has been installed successfully, as you can see here. It has next react and react dom installed. Now we need to install two more libraries. The first one is I'll copy the library name from here, and if you're wondering what this is basically my main project that I created, and the other library is ethers. I'll install this npmi nomic foundations @nomic foundation / hardhat hyphen ignition hyphen ethers, and the second library is ethers. I have misspelled that, that's why it will throw an error. Ethers it is. Let me pause the video. The dependencies have been installed, and now what we need to do is basically go into the root folder, create a new folder named pages, and apart from that we also need to add a script in the package.json manually. It is basically just copy paste this next dev, and that would be fine. And in the pages folder create a index.js and write your JSX code here. Like if I were to show you an example, it would be like this: return dev uh, hello world, something like that. And if I try to run it, npm run dev, I'll start at localhost colon 3000, and if we go there, there's a problem here. The default export is not a React component. Okay, let me try to fix that issue. Let me pause the video. So I was missing one keyword, which was export default, and as soon as you put that in, you will get your front end here. So basically you can write your whole front end code, which is the Next.js code here, and you can write your whole contract code here. And you also require one more thing: you need to create a ignition / module file for your particular contract, and you can create that by telling ChatGPT that this is the particular format. You can just copy all this and paste it in ChatGPT along with your contract, and ask it to create a ignition file for your contract, for your particular contract, based upon that format, and it will give you a ignition file for your particular contract. And the other thing that was wrong with the code given by Metacrafters was that they were using old version of ethers. If you see in the package.json, the ethers version is 6.13.0. Basically it is version 6, and if you check the package.json of uh, the starter code given by Metacrafters, well, it does not have ethers in itself, but they were using older version of ether nonetheless. I don't know. Okay, I have not run npm install yet. Let me do that. there is some problem with this particular code given by Metagraphs. So basically, the conclusion is that ethers.js has been upgraded to version 6 from version 5, and in the code given by Metagraphs, they were still using many functions called that were actually meant to be used in version 6 of ethers.js. Because if you see ethers.js v6 docs, and if we try to compare them, v6 versus v5, migrating from v5, if you see the provider section, earlier in v5 you were using new ethers.provider web3 provider with the window.ethereum, but now you need to use new ethers.browser provider with window.ethereum. And as you can see in the, this is the code of uh, the code that was given by Metagraphic to us. And if you check in this, in the connect uh, in the get ATM contract, they have used ethers.provider.web3 provider, which was used in ethers version 5 as shown here, new ethers provider.web3 provider, but you need to use this line instead of that. So basically what you need to do is create another provider, comment this line out, and replace this with ethers or browser provider, and you're all set for it. Apart from that, you can also check a few other things. I don't remember all the functions that were basically changed, but you can find all of them here. That is migrating from v5 in the ether.js version 6 docs. You can find all the things that they have changed themselves here, and that is it. And I would be uploading this particular folder to GitHub that we just created. You can just git clone that and move ahead from it. It will act as a starter code instead of the starter code given by Metagraphs, which was outdated by at least a year. Thank you for that. One more thing, I forgot to tell you, how do you create your own blockchain? Most probably you would know that, but I'll give you the command how to create your own fake blockchain for testing using Hardhat, and how can you compile your code and how can you deploy your code to that particular local blockchain. So first of all, you can use npx Hardhat node to create that local host blockchain. And as soon as I click it, as you can see, let me just expand my terminal. As you can see, started a HTTP WebSocket JSON RPC server at this particular URL. This is your RPC URL, and it just creates these many accounts. What you need to do is create one more terminal, and in that, basically to compile your smart contract, use npx Hardhat compile. It will compile your Solidity code and it will generate a artifacts in folder. Inside that there would be contracts folder, and inside of that there would be a JSON file which contains your ABI, which is short form for application binary interface, and it is very important for your front end because it's a way for your front end to communicate with your smart contract, and ethers.js requires it. And in order to deploy your code, you can use this command, ignition. Let me just search it, npx Hardhat compile. You can find all the command how to deploy it. How to deploy using Hardhat ignition. Let me move my face. Deploying your contracts. You can run this particular command. but mind you, you need to have your particular own smart contract ignition module. Basically, what I'm trying to convey is that in the ignition slash modules folder, there's a log.js by default, because the default contract that Hardhat gives you has the name of log.sol. But let's say I created the contract of crowdfunding.sol and I had a module named crowdfunding.js. So you have to have your particular JS file, which is inside ignition slash module slash currently it is log.js for this example. You need to change this particular file name and you're all set to go. You can run it. It will be deployed at this particular address. As you can see, it has been deployed. So those were the things that I forgot to mention in the last video, and that is it. You can now compile your code. You can spin up a new local host blockchain, and you can also deploy your smart contract using ignition to that particular local host smart contract. That's it. Thank you.